The alien woman in the job line. The sun was hot above the city. The line outside the Earth labor station was long. Humans and aliens waited side by side. Most were tired. Many looked angry or hopeless. Near the end of the line stood a woman. She was not human. Her skin was pale blue and her eyes glowed soft purple. Her name was Vera. She wore old clothes that didn't fit well. On her back, tied with cloth, her baby slept. The child was thin, small, and coughed in its sleep. Vera held a small paper in her hand. It was torn and dirty, but on it was written one word: job. She had come a long way. Her husband died in a mining accident on another planet. Since then, she and her baby had been alone, hungry, cold, tired, but she did not give up. She came to Earth because she heard humans were kind. Now she stood in line and hoped. People were called one by one. Next, the human at the counter shouted. Name? Garrow, said a tall alien. Job offered. Next. One by one, the line moved. Vera waited. The baby woke and started to cry. She rocked it gently. A woman in the line turned around and frowned. Keep that thing quiet, she said. Vera looked down and didn't speak. Finally, Vera reached the front. The man at the counter looked at her and frowned. Species? Voran, she said softly. Widowed? Child with you? Yes. No job for you? Next. She looked confused. Please, I need work. Any work. No jobs for your type. She stepped forward. Please, I can clean, I can cook, I work hard, I learn fast. Back of the line or leave. Tears filled her eyes. She turned slowly and walked away. No one looked at her. Some even laughed. She sat on the floor nearby. The baby was crying louder now. Her stomach growled. She had not eaten since yesterday. She pulled out a small bottle and shook it. Empty. She whispered to her child, Shh, little one, just a little more. As she held her baby and cried quietly, a shadow fell over her. She looked up. A human man stood there. He wore dirty worker's clothes. His face had a short beard and tired eyes. He looked at her but said nothing. She looked down, ashamed. Maybe he would yell too. Maybe he would tell her to go away. But instead, he held out something, a small bottle of milk. She took it slowly, unsure. Your child needs it, he said simply. She nodded. Thank you. I'm Daniel, the man said. She looked at him. Vera. He didn't say much more. Just looked. At the labor building, then at her. You need work? She nodded. He pointed at a truck nearby. Come with me. She looked surprised. You have work? He nodded. Yes. My boss won't like it, but I don't care. She stood slowly, holding her baby tight. Why? Why help me? She asked. Daniel shrugged. No one helped my mom when I was small. So now I help. Inside the truck, she sat quietly while the baby drank the milk. She kept looking at Daniel, unsure. He didn't talk much, just drove. After a while, she asked, What kind of work? Construction site, cleaning, heavy lifting. You okay with that? I'll do anything, she said. He nodded. They drove through busy roads, tall buildings, and finally reached a dusty work site. Machines, bricks, loud tools. Men and women in yellow suits working hard. Daniel helped her down. Some people stared. One man laughed. You bringin' aliens now, Dan? Daniel said nothing, just handed Vera a yellow vest. Start here, he said. Clean tools, stack bricks, take breaks when the baby sleeps. She smiled, tears in her eyes. Thank you. He paused, then handed her a sandwich from his lunchbox. Eat first. That night when the shift ended, everyone went home. Daniel walked to his small room, but he stopped. Behind the worksite, Vera sat on the ground again. The baby was asleep in her arms. She had no place to go. He looked at her for a long time. then turned away, took a deep breath. Next morning, when she woke up, she saw a small blanket over her shoulders. And beside her, a bag of food. No name, but she smiled. Whispers at the worksite. Vera stood at the edge of the site, holding a broom with both hands. Her back ached and her feet were swollen. But she didn't complain. She worked hard, like Daniel told her. No one had to remind her twice. Dust blew in her face as machines roared around her. Some workers gave her strange looks. Some laughed when they thought she couldn't hear. One man even threw a wrench near her foot and smirked, but Vera kept her head down. During break time, she sat alone under a tree near the fence. Her baby slept beside her on a thin cloth. She had only half a sandwich today, but she gave most of it to the child. From across the yard, Daniel watched. He sat with the other workers, but he didn't laugh with them. He just kept looking at Vera like he was thinking deeply. One of the workers leaned toward him. "Why'd you bring her, Dan? You know they're not like us." Daniel didn't reply. Another man added, "She's stealing our jobs. Her kind always do." Daniel still said nothing. He just stood up and walked away from the group. That night, the site was almost empty. Only the evening shift remained. Vera worked late because she wanted to prove herself. She lifted bricks that were too heavy for her thin arms. Her hands were bleeding, her fingers trembled. But she didn't stop. As she stacked the last row, her baby cried behind her. Vera rushed back to soothe him but tripped and fell hard on a pile of bricks. She cried out in pain. Someone nearby laughed. "Maybe she should go back to her planet," a voice said. She stayed on the ground, trying not to cry. That's when a shadow appeared beside her. A hand reached down. It was Daniel. He didn't speak, just helped her sit up. He gently checked her arm. It was scratched, but not broken. "You okay?" he asked quietly. She nodded, but tears were falling from her eyes. I just want to earn. Feed my child. I'm not here to steal. I'm just trying to survive." Daniel looked at her for a long time. Then he said, "You don't have to prove anything to them." The next morning, something changed. When Vera came to work, her tools were missing. Her broom was broken. Her vest was gone. She asked a worker nearby, "Did you see my things?" The man smiled coldly. Maybe aliens should bring their own tools. She felt panic rise in her chest. A supervisor came over. "Where's your vest and broom?" Someone took them," Vera said, her voice shaking. "No tools, no work. Go home." Her heart dropped. Just then, Daniel walked over, holding a new broom and vest. "She'll use mine," he said. The supervisor looked annoyed. "It's your shift, you'll be behind." Daniel just said, "Doesn't matter." That day, whispers grew louder. Dan's got himself a pet alien. Maybe she's living with him. He's always watching her, but Daniel ignored them. And Vera, she worked harder than ever. At lunch, he sat with her for the first time. He shared his food. They didn't talk much, just ate in silence. But something small, something strong was building between them. That night, as the sky turned dark, Vera sat with her baby beside the same tree. She looked up at the stars. Her home planet was somewhere out there. But now, it felt so far away. Daniel walked by and saw her. He paused. "Do you have a place to stay?" he asked. She shook her head. "I sleep near the tool shed. It's dry there." He nodded slowly, then handed her something. It was a folded note and a small card. "An old motel. I talked to the owner. It's cheap, safe. I'll pay the first week. After that, it's yours." She looked at the card. Her fingers shook. "No, I can't let you do that." Daniel said nothing, just walked away. The fire and the blame. Vera was starting to feel a little safe. Every morning she walked to the construction site from the small motel room Daniel helped her find. She cleaned, lifted, swept, and helped with anything she could. Her baby was always nearby, sleeping in a corner wrapped in cloth. The workers still whispered, still stared, but no one dared touch her, because now Daniel was watching. One evening, the sky turned red as the sun set behind the tall buildings. The workday was nearly over. Most workers packed their tools and left. Vera was sweeping near the tool shed, her baby tied on her back. Suddenly, smoke. Thick black smoke rose behind the supply room. Then, flames. Someone shouted, "Fire!" The workers panicked. Some ran toward it, others away. Water pipes were turned on. Buckets flew. Vera ran to help, but someone grabbed her arm. It was Daniel. "Stay back," he said, pushing her and the baby away from the heat. The fire was controlled after 15 minutes. No one was hurt, but the damage was big. Expensive. Tools were burned. The site camera wires were melted. The boss arrived, red-faced and furious. What happened? Who started this? One worker stepped forward. His name was Reeve. He hated Vera since the day she arrived. "I saw her," he said, pointing. "She was near the shed. Maybe she left something hot. Or maybe her kind uses fire differently. She caused this." Everyone turned to look at Vera. Vera's mouth dropped open. "No, I didn't do anything. I was just cleaning." "She's lying," Reeve said. "I saw smoke after she left." "I was far," she cried. "Ask anyone." But no one stood up for her except one. Daniel stepped forward. "She didn't do it." "How do you know?" the boss asked. "Because she was with me when the fire started." Vera looked at Daniel. He was lying. To protect her. The boss frowned. "You sure about that?" Daniel nodded. "Completely." Reeve growled. "He's protecting her, 'cause he likes her." More whispers spread. The boss sighed. "Enough. We'll investigate later. But she's off the site until we know more." Vera felt her heart sink. She turned to Daniel. "I can't lose this job." Daniel gave her a small nod. "I'll talk to him again. Go for now. I'll make things right." She picked up her baby and walked away, tears burning in her eyes. That night in the tiny motel room, Vera didn't sleep. She held her baby close. Was it all over again? Would she lose everything again? Why did Daniel lie for her? Why would a human risk his job just for her? Back at the work site, Daniel stayed late. He checked the broken security box, melted wires. No help there. He walked past the tool shed and looked carefully. And then, he found it. A burnt cloth. And inside it, the corner of a worker's name tag. Not Vera's. Reeves. Daniel picked it up and stared at it. The next morning, Daniel walked straight into the boss's office. He dropped the burned tag on the table. "Found this behind the shed," he said. The boss looked at it. "Reeve?" Daniel nodded. "He framed her," Daniel said. "He's been trying to get her fired since day one." The boss frowned. "I'll handle it." At noon, Vera arrived quietly to collect her last pay. She didn't expect to stay, but the boss came to her directly. "You're back on," he said simply. Vera blinked. "What?" "Turns out the fire wasn't your fault." She looked over and saw Daniel watching from a distance. Reeve was gone. Fired. No one talked much about it. But something changed after that. Workers still didn't speak to Vera, but they didn't insult her either. And when she walked by, they stepped aside. That night, as she sat under the stars behind the motel, Daniel came by. He didn't say much. He just handed her a small metal piece. It was shaped like a tiny flame. Burnt, but shining. She looked confused. He said, "Even fire can't stop truth," and walked away. The knock at her door. The motel room was small, but it was safe. Vera had made it feel like home. A blanket hung as a curtain. Her baby had a soft pillow to sleep on. And at night she listened to earth music on a tiny radio. Daniel too. Gave her. Life was still hard, but better. Until the night someone knocked. It was late. Too late. Wind howled outside. Her baby had just fallen asleep. Knock, knock, knock. 3 slow, heavy knocks. Vera froze. She hadn't told anyone where she lived. Except Daniel. She walked slowly to the door. "Who's there?" she asked. No answer. Just another knock. She didn't open the door. Instead, she peeked through a small crack in the curtain. Her blood ran cold. There was a tall figure outside, not human, not from this city. Its skin was rough, brown, and cracked like stone. 2 yellow eyes glowed in the dark. It was a Varnock, a species known for hunting and for collecting debts. Vera stepped back quickly. Her heart pounded. How did they find her? 10 minutes later, the figure was gone. But on the floor outside, she found something. A burned photo, her old family photo, her husband, her baby, and her, crossed out in red. She grabbed her baby and locked every window. That night she didn't sleep. The next morning, she showed up at the site pale and shaking. Daniel noticed right away. "What happened?" he asked. Vera didn't answer at first. Later during break, she pulled him aside and told him everything. "I used to owe someone. After my husband died, they said he borrowed money. A lot. From a gang." Daniel frowned. "They followed you here." She nodded. "I think they want to take my baby. For the debt." Daniel clenched his fists. "No one's taking anything from you," he said. That evening, Daniel didn't let her go back to the motel alone. He walked her all the way to the door. When he saw the burned photo, he didn't say anything. He just looked around the hallway, his eyes sharp, alert. "You're not safe here anymore," he said. Vera's voice shook. "But I can't afford anywhere else." Daniel nodded slowly. Then, "Come with me," she hesitated. "I can't be a burden." "You're not," he said. Daniel's home was small but clean. A warm room with real windows. A place with a real bed. She stood at the doorway for a long time. He said nothing. Just picked up her baby and placed the child gently on the bed. That night, Vera couldn't sleep. Not because of fear, but because it was the first time in years that she felt protected. But outside, down the street, someone was watching. A shadow in the alley, holding a photo, marked with Vera's name. The next morning, Daniel made breakfast. Toast, eggs, a hot drink. Vera ate in silence. Then she asked, "Why are you doing this for me?" He looked at her. "Because no one did it for my mother. She died cold and alone. You won't." Later that day, Daniel called someone, an old friend who worked with Earth Security Patrol. "I need protection for a guest," he said. The friend replied, "Alien guest? You sure about this, Dan?" "Yes. You could get in trouble." "I already am." Back at the house, Vera found something on the table, a small silver key. She looked at Daniel. He said, "Just in case I'm not home. You're not a guest anymore." He fought for her and bled for her. The sky turned gray that morning. Clouds rolled over the city, heavy and dark. It wasn't just the weather. Something felt wrong. Daniel could feel it in his chest. He looked out the window. His street was quiet. Too quiet. Inside the house, Vera fed her baby. She tried to smile, but Daniel saw the fear behind her eyes. They both knew it. The Varnock would return. Daniel checked every lock, every window. "I need to go to work for a few hours," he told her. "No," she said quickly. "What if they come?" "I won't be far," he replied. "I'll call every hour." But as he stepped outside, he saw it, a black van across the street. No logo, no plates, and inside, those glowing yellow eyes. Daniel walked fast to the job site, but his hand stayed close to his pocket, where he now carried an old stun pistol from his younger days. He wasn't a soldier anymore. But for them, he would fight. Back home, Vera felt a cold chill in her chest. The baby cried for no reason. Shadows moved past the window. She rocked her child and hummed a lullaby from her home planet. But then, a crash. Glass broke. The back window. She jumped. A voice growled in a language she hadn't heard in years. Debt is not forgotten. Daniel's phone buzzed as he was lifting bricks. It was Vera. She didn't say a word. He just heard crying, breaking, heavy footsteps. He dropped everything and ran. Workers shouted behind him. He didn't stop. Back at the house, two Varnock stood in the kitchen. One searched the shelves. The other stood in front of Vera, his hand grabbing her arm. "Where is the payment?" he hissed. "I have nothing," she said, shaking. "Then we take the child." "No." She held the baby tight, using her own body as a shield. The front door burst open. Daniel stood there, breathing hard. "Let her go." The Varnock turned. "You're the human," one sneered. "Step aside. This is not your business." "It is. Now," Daniel growled. One Varnock charged at him. Daniel pulled the stun pistol and fired. Zap. The first alien dropped. The second lunged forward with a blade. Daniel blocked with his arm. The blade cut deep. He screamed, but didn't stop. With his good hand, he swung the metal lamp into the alien's head. It fell, groaning. Silence. Vera stood frozen, still holding her baby. Daniel leaned against the wall, bleeding. "You're hurt," she cried, rushing to him. "I've had worse," he said with a weak smile. 10 minutes later, police arrived. Security patrols, too. Daniel's old friend had called backup when he got the emergency ping. The aliens were arrested. But as they were dragged out, one of them snarled at Vera. "This isn't over." At the hospital, Daniel's arm was stitched up. He needed rest, but Vera never left his side. She held his hand as he slept, her baby in her lap. She had no money, no family, no safety, but she had him, and he had fought for her, bled for her. When Daniel woke up the next morning, Vera was still sitting there. She whispered, "Why did you risk your life for me?" He looked at her quietly, then said, "Because you and your child are worth it." That afternoon, Daniel's boss called. "We heard what happened. You're a hero, Dan." Daniel only said one thing. "Give Vera a permanent job, full pay, no questions." And they did. That night, Vera stood in the doorway of Daniel's house. Her baby slept peacefully in her arms. She looked around the room. The broken glass had been replaced, the blood cleaned up, but the memory would never fade. She turned to Daniel. Softly, she said, "I came to Earth looking for work. I never thought I'd find a protector, the day she was offered a home and a choice." 3 weeks passed since the fight. The house was quiet again. Daniel's stitches had healed. The bruises were gone. But something had changed between them. Something deep, silent, and powerful. Vera now cooked every evening. She liked to stir the soup while humming softly. Her baby, now stronger and always smiling, crawled between the chairs. Daniel watched her sometimes without saying a word. He had lived alone for years. No family, no laughter. Now, there was warmth in every corner. That morning, Vera returned from her new job. The site was different now. She wore a real uniform. The workers nodded to her. Some even smiled, and her pay. Enough to cover rent. Enough to feed her baby. Enough to dream. But she no longer stayed at the motel. Every night she went home, to Daniel's home. She still called it his home, but that was about to change. One Sunday afternoon, the sky was soft with clouds. Daniel worked in the backyard fixing an old bench. Vera sat nearby, sewing a small blanket for her baby. Birds chirped. The baby laughed, and for the first time in a long time, Vera laughed too. Daniel looked up. "That's the first time I've heard you laugh," he said. She smiled shyly. "It feels strange, but good." He nodded, then reached into his toolbox, pulled out a small paper envelope, walked over to her and sat down. "This," he said, "is yours." She opened it slowly. Inside was a deed, a house deed, Her name was on it. Vera stared at it, then at him. What is this? It's my house, Daniel said. But now it's also yours. I had it updated. She shook her head. Daniel, I can't accept this, I can't. You already did, he said quietly. You made this place alive again. You gave it meaning. Gave me a reason to come home. Tears filled her eyes. She had nothing when she arrived. Now she had a home. That evening, she sat alone outside, watching the stars. The same stars that hung above her old world. Her fingers touched the edge of the house paper. But her heart felt strange. She was grateful. But afraid. Was it pity or something more? She didn't know how to ask. The next morning, she made breakfast early. She was quiet. Daniel noticed. Everything okay? He asked. She nodded, but didn't meet his eyes. He gently placed his coffee down. Do you want to leave? He asked. Her head shot up. No! Then what is it? She took a deep breath. Why are you doing all this for me? He looked at her a long time, then said, Because I care. She whispered, How much? He got up, walked over to the drawer, and pulled out a second envelope. This one had a silver ribbon. He placed it in her hand. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a simple ring. Vera couldn't speak. Her heart pounded. Daniel said nothing. He wasn't the kind of man who begged. He just waited. Finally, she whispered, I never thought someone would ever ask me to be anything. He smiled softly. I'm not asking for anything you're not ready to give. But if you want to stay, not as a guest, not as a worker, but as my partner, he paused, then say yes. She looked down at the ring, then at her child, now sleeping in a bundle nearby, and finally at Daniel, the quiet man who had opened his home, his heart, and now offered his future. The wedding. No one expected. Especially her. Vera never dreamed of a wedding. On her home planet, weddings were not about love. They were about duty. Her first union had been arranged, quiet, and cold. She never wore a dress, never smiled during vows. But this was different. Daniel had never pressured her. After giving her the ring, he never asked again. He just treated her like family, safe, respected, free. Weeks passed. She worked during the day, cooked at night. And one morning, as she watched Daniel pack his lunch with her baby crawling after him, something changed in her heart. She didn't want to wait anymore. That evening, Vera placed the ring on the table beside his plate. Daniel looked at it, then at her. She smiled gently. It's time. He didn't ask what she meant. He just understood. The next few days moved quickly. They didn't plan a big wedding. No music, no crowd, just something quiet, simple, real. Daniel's old work friends helped clean up the backyard. A neighbor lent white cloth and flowers. The woman at the local diner gave Vera a second-hand dress and cried while doing her hair. Even the baby got a tiny suit made from stitched-up rags. He giggled the whole time. The wedding day came. The sky was bright. Soft wind blew over the yard. Daniel stood near the back fence, nervous but calm. Vera walked out the house, holding her baby in her arms. Her dress wasn't perfect, but her eyes glowed brighter than any jewel. Everyone turned to look, but she only looked at him. They stood under a tree with silver leaves. An old human priest cleared his throat. We are gathered here to witness something no one expected. The crowd chuckled. Even Vera laughed. The priest continued, a human and an alien. Two souls, different in body, but the same in heart. He looked at them both. You may speak your vows. Daniel went first. I don't have many words, he said. But I'll protect you, feed you, walk beside you. Not because you need it, but because I want to. Vera's hands trembled. She looked down at her child, then up at Daniel. "I came here with nothing," she said. "I didn't even have hope. You didn't give me a job. You gave me a reason to live." Tears filled the eyes of every person in the yard, even the ones who once laughed behind her back. "You may now share your first kiss as partners." Daniel leaned in, but Vera stopped him for a second. She whispered something in her own language, a word that meant home. Then she kissed him, gently, fully, without fear. The crowd clapped, but one small voice giggled louder than all. Her baby reached out and grabbed Daniel's ear, making everyone laugh. Later, after the simple meal and soft music, Daniel and Vera sat on the steps of the house. The stars above were bright. The wind was cool. She leaned her head on his shoulder. "I never believed a human would marry someone like me," she said. Daniel kissed her forehead. "I didn't marry an alien," he whispered. "I married the woman who saved my life." Inside the house, her child slept peacefully. A photo hung on the wall, Vera, Daniel, and the baby, all smiling. Outside, the city lights blinked like stars. But inside that little house, something brighter was born. A new family,